Chris Cote has announced that he is out on JJ Redick.
No, we don't remember that one. Okay.
I don't know why he's out on JJ Redick.
I just think that I liked him when he was doing his podcast. I would see the clips and I would be like, oh, he seems likable. And now he just seems like he's reverted to like Duke JJ Redick. He's so condescending now to the media. It's just every single clip now that I see, I have the opposite reaction of just like, ooh, that's unlikable. And I know he's probably trying to do that. He's trying to distance himself. I'm not a media man. I'm a coach. I'm a serious coach. But it's just every single clip I see is unlikable.
Probably what Tony's going to do when he gets over to the U.
I would never flip up. Come on.
Nah, come on.
Stays true. You know what makes him more obnoxious is that most coaches who are like, oh, media, like they're coaches, right? But JJ does the, media, I did your job way better. You guys are so terrible at doing that.
I literally know what your job is because I did it.
He was pretty good at it, though.
Right?
He was
But he was likable then. I don't know. It's just maybe
because that's the job.
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not him.
But is he telling that to beat writers?
But you know what this is, right? This is the true JJ Redick, right? Like one of my favorite game ops decisions in the history of all sports was the Wizards years ago. This is JJ Redick is in the league, but in games that the Wizards aren't playing against the JJ Redick team, when the opposing team was at the free throw line, they would put a picture of JJ Redick up on the Jumbotron. And the crowd would instantly start booing because it's a Maryland stronghold. And everybody hates JJ Redick. Now, I think this is earlier in his career because after he left Orlando, I think people kind of forgot how hated JJ Redick was. And it only for it to come back up now. The thing, Dan, that made me laugh, I want to say we talked about this, but maybe we didn't, where Michael Porter Jr. interviewed JJ Redick on his podcast, and he asked him, wait, so were you ranked in high school? And JJ Redick says, well, I mean, I was McDonald's All-American MVP. Does that count, right?
Are bonita fish big?
What?
Anybody get that reference? Are we here? Okay.
I mean, I guess.
I mean,
He's just still recruiting.
they're a trophy fish. I don't.
But
I don't know.
Just trying to connect with you so
I
you sign with
say
Miami.
them?
File.
I really don't understand what Chris Cote is doing. It seems to me that Chris Cote is taking just that podcast experience and erasing the rest of who JJ Redick has been the entirety of his life, which is how does JJ Redick get to 14 points a game in that particular league, being an on purpose, fighting everyone, doesn't care who dislikes him, uncommonly brave at sort of leaning into, do not care how much you dislike me, I'm going to get into your league and I'm going to make millions of dollars.
Also good at shooting.
Yeah,
like being an all-time great shooter probably.
Greatest shooter in college history, probably.
And that was a ridiculous question from Michael Porter Jr. if he was ranked.
He was McDonald. I get it.
Question.
I get it. Michael Porter Jr. was like 8 when JJ Redick was at Duke. But it's like, you got to know. 99.9% of the players in the NBA, you got to know they were awesome in high school too. like the number.
Bad question.
Then there's levels to it. It's not like, hey, I was highly ranked, but I didn't make the All-American game. It was like, no, I was him. Nobody was better than I was.
I went to Duke when Duke was Duke. I was the best player at Duke
ACC
when
Player
Duke
of the
was
Year
Duke.
twice.
Reruns.
Right? National championship, Final Fours. Right? Again, McDonald's All-American, lottery pick in the NBA. Right? This doesn't happen for the guy that kind of like was, I had a growth spurt.
But in the history of Duke, though, there have only been 2 guys who have actually had all of that and embraced, I don't care that you hate me, eat also.
Yeah.
It's him and Leitner on, I'll invite the hate and I'll be better than your hate and I'll welcome it. And the idea that JJ Redick changed Chris Cote's mind on who he is because he did a podcast for a couple of years.
He was likable for a couple of years.
It's that we forget. He got himself into the media and he was there for long enough. And look, there's people online trying to convince me that like Paul George was better than Dwayne Wade at their peaks. Like everyone forgets everything because of what's happening right now. So Redick goes and does a podcast for a couple of years. He's jovial and likable and he does a good job on First Take. And every young person watching basketball might not remember when he was with Duke or the Orlando Magic.
He just hit it. It was those First Take appearances where he would like dunk on Stephen A. Smith.
Because no one can.
That's where I became. That's where I started.
By the way,
him.
Chris, what kind of skill set does it take to dunk on Stephen A. Smith? Is it nice, humble? Well, pardon me, Mr. Smith, but I believe you might be mistaken. Or is it the? And I say this as someone I like JJ Redick. I like JJ. People who are. I
like him.
No. I didn't.
What he did to Mad Dog was unfair and unreasonable, and everybody knows it, okay?
But he was being an asshole in a room full of assholes.
Mad Dog.
Right? come on now. Well, look, we could like I love JJ Redick. We could love Mad Dog and also admit
Love Mad Dog.
I don't understand what you guys are doing in the history of sports. Duke arrogance and the face of it, it's one of the most hateable things there are in the history of sports. And on that Mount Rushmore, there ain't 4. There are 2.
I'll give it another name.
Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen.
Forgive me. Grayson Allen's a good one.
Thank you.
And-
Yes.
and
Hawkins
another
with a
one.
basketball
Extra
pool.
million for your NIL.
And another one, although he's mellowed out now that he's head coach, but John Shire was an too.
I like him.
Nobody liked John Shire in college, man. That dude was a jerk.
I like him.
You know what? Dan's right. This is on me. This is my fault.
You're out on
JJ hasn't changed. I've changed.
You've changed.
Well, but it's not just that, though. Hold on a second. So now
I'm sorry, Dan.
I give you the whole history of JJ Redick, and now I add to it, first-time coach cuts the line. Hey, here are LeBron and Luka as your proteges. You think that's going to feed the arrogance a little bit?
Dude, let me tell you something. When they beat the Nuggets like a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "We circled this game on the calendar," I said, "Oh no," because here's the most dangerous part of any coach's like timeline is when you fall in love with your own bull. Right? You can bull those guys in the locker room as much as you want, as much as you need. When you talk to everybody else, hey man, was this a big game? You say, it's another game on the schedule. Obviously, they're a really good team, but and we kind of looked at it as a little bit of a measuring stick. But look, there's a lot of season left, and I'm sure we're going to see more of them. We'll probably see them down the line, and they'll have changed or will have changed. There are answers you give. You can't be like, this was our Super Bowl and we won it. I'm like, dog, it was before like the All-Star
Game
break.
67.
Yeah, it was just a little bit too much of I'm high on my own supply,
Chris, tell me this. What coach's disposition do you like in the media? Like when they're talk to the media? Or I would
Missoula. I love it.
Okay.
He's so annoying with the media. He just is like, oh, that didn't matter. That game didn't matter.
Isn't that just another form of
Let's say it's
the
the
other
same
side of the
thing.
spectrum.
The other side, where he's not being, I mean, I guess he is
he's
being arrogant.
He's absolutely being arrogant.
That is arrogant.
He was asked, how does it feel to be in if not the first, one of the few times in NBA history of finals where both head coaches are black? And his answer was, I wonder how many of them were Christian. I'm like, buddy.
It's a good question. I'm curious.
Yeah,
It's a good question.
I'll get an answer for you. Almost all of them.
We could probably
Almost all of them were Christian.
You could have answered at least. He would have gotten his
Almost all of
question
them.
answered. That's it.
Like I gotta go back to like Red Auerbach to get to okay, maybe a couple of them were Jewish.
I like him.
He's the I really don't enjoy because
We're playing different games, you and I.
he's flippant, man. No,
You don't like flipping out.
I don't like flipping out, man.
Listen, I also think that for JJ Redick, who is, to Dan's point, the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers on a team with LeBron James and Luka Doncic,
Spoiled.
you have to get up there and not treat media a certain way, but you got to exude a certain confidence in every room to be able to go in that room and get them to be like, hey, I got to respect this guy.
Yeah.
I got to listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And so that is a piece of it that may be a little different than the media game. And for that reason, I like him.
I mean, being a media member, being a podcaster, obviously the last thing that JJ Redick did was podcasting. If you were given the keys to a kingdom in an NBA setting and being the head coach, how would you be? Would you be the flippant that you hate? Would you morph into something different?
I'd be JJ Redick.
So you would be an asshole too.
I would absolutely, because a couple of things. First of all, what he said, like you got to be able to, especially in that town, right?
Yeah.
Frank Vogel won a championship with the Lakers, and they got his ass up out of here.
Yeah.
Paul Westhead won a championship with the Lakers. They got his ass up out of here. You have to have some sort of gravitas when you walk in the room, regardless of who you're coaching, but especially when you're coaching those kind of guys, right? Number one. Number two, I don't know if you've noticed, Tony, I'm a bit of an again, like JJ Redick, like this is not like that's who I am. So for me to be nice and kind and like, oh no, it's a good. I can't do the Doc Rivers. That's a very handsome question you just asked me or whatever. I can't do that stuff where everyone's laughing. I'm gonna be like a little sarcastic jerk, especially if I hear a question that has either been answered before or a question that is especially lazy or ill-constructed or whatever. Because I'm going to have the same judgments that I'm sure JJ Redick had. That's why I'm like, I'm not mad at it. I'm just like pointing it out that, hey, man, you might be getting a little high on your own supply.
Larry Brown, recent Jew.
There you go.
Found it.
Define recent.
That is a while ago.
This
I was in
century?
high school.
He just got bar mitzvah.
Chris Cody, can you explain to me after
The
we
red foods?
Oh, finally,
We'll get to that
Dan.
another day.
Oh my
I
goodness.
do want to
finally.
get to
Red
that.
foods
I
are
wanna
killing
get
us,
that
by the
too,
way.
yeah.
I do want to get to your.
Yes, I are.
Thank you.
It's a good impersonation. The limited,
Damn good.
Limited.
I thought it was a
Kennedy.
soundbite.
Yes, Chris. Okay, fine. Why are you out on red food?
Why